one of the key roles we have at Riv is a specific kind of servant leader, and that is a pastor or an elder. And those two terms for us, we would see those as interchangeable in scriptures. And at Riv, our pastors serve in a whole variety of functions, but all the pastors serve on one team, which is called our Full Council of Elders, and they oversee the whole church from a spiritual perspective. And because there is a weightiness to that role of serving on the Full Council of Elders, we take a long time in recognizing someone as one of our elders. And this guy right here is Young Yi, and Young is entering his final phase of being recognized as an elder at Riverview. And I just have to say, I've known Young since he was in high school.
Yeah.
And I have seen God just transform this dude. And it's so cool to see God be faithful in your life as you've grown in faithfulness in following after him. And so for people who are not familiar with you, tell us a little bit of your story, maybe your faith story, how you ended up at Riv, all that kind of stuff.
When I went to MSU, I lived with 3 other guys in the dorms. And I remember just seeing them, they had so much joy in their life. And yet I was the one chasing after all these things that the world would say, like, oh, like you can find joy by pursuing these things. And there just seemed to be this disconnect that I had in my life. And I realized just they were genuinely pursuing the Lord, you know, in their life. And it really convicted me to just kind of figure out, like, what am I pursuing in life genuinely? And that really began this journey for me at that point to, just to be faithful to Christ, you know, through prayer and reading the Word. And that was when I really, in a sense, rededicated my life to the Lord. And
So how did you end up even considering ministry as a career? I mean, obviously, you're most well known for being a break dancer, and I'm not kidding, and a break dancing instructor, of course, you know. But you know, why ministry? Why would you even consider that? There's so many things you can do.
So actually, while I was refiguring out my life and rededicating my life to Christ in that sense, I got plugged into a local church, and as I began serving the youth kids there with some of my friends that I went to college with, that was like the first time that during that summer in August where I was like, oh, okay, is ministry a thing? And literally at the end of my junior year, a week prior to finals week, I made the switch and jumped into pursuing ministry after seeking a lot of counsel and praying, and decided to just jump ship from the pre-vet route and jumped into ministry essentially.
So for the last several years, you've been serving as the MSU venue director for us. Tell us what that experience has been like, what your vision has been for campus, what God has done on campus.
Something that I've been pursuing after in this role is asking the question, how can I best prepare college students not to just be faithful to the Lord during their 4 to 6 years or however long in college, but how can I prepare them well for life after college as a young adult?
Well, and it's been really cool to see the MSU venue grow, not just in the number of people engaged, but also in its diversity.
Yes, we definitely want to branch out and be a home for just the different students on campus, different student ministries on campus as well. And so that's definitely brought in diverse faces, whether it's across gender lines or ethnic lines, or even just, again, ministry lines. So that's been pretty cool to see as well.
So what would your hopes and dreams be for Riverview as you're stepping into this role as a shepherd, as a pastor?
Yeah, I think something that I would love to see our church family continue to grow in, and it's something that we've been growing in, is genuinely becoming more like Christ. And it sounds like such a Christian cliche answer, but I think there's so many things in this world that will vie for our attention, and I would love for our church to be formed more and more by Christ rather than the things of this world. And I think part of that is how we engage with one another specifically. Growing as a multi-ethnic, transcultural church is something I'd love for our church to pursue after. We have so many great leaders and people within our church, and there's so many communities within the Lansing area that I think we have such a strong potential to reach. And part of that is getting uncomfortable, and yet we can get uncomfortable comfortably when we take on the posture of Christ. And so that's something that I think I'd love to see our church pursue after.
I'm just thrilled to get to the point where I can call you one of my pastors, and I'm just very excited about that. And so there are 3 steps that you can take, and that I would ask you to take as it relates to Young taking this final step in becoming a Riverview pastor. The first is, please pray for him. Yes. Pray for Young, pray for his wife Hannah, pray for the elders at Riverview as we're going through these final steps, that God would grant us wisdom during the season. The second is really read 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. That's where the job description of an elder is essentially listed and where the qualifications of an elder are listed. The main qualification is that an elder in Jesus' church is to be above reproach, which basically just means he has no glaring weaknesses in his relationship with God, his relationship with others, and his relationship with himself. And so read through those character qualifications and know that really, while they are a qualification for elders, they're also something we all should do. And so it's a good challenge for all of us. But if there is an area where you really believe Young is not above reproach, this is the time where we ask our church family to let us know. And that would be the third thing. If there is something that you're concerned about, a glaring weakness in Young's life that maybe we've been blind to, we ask that you submit that to the pastors in writing, and we will evaluate each one of those because we really do believe that an elder is appointed by the elders of the church, and we want them to be affirmed by the body. And so that's what we're asking of you guys right now. So Young, it has been cool to see you grow in faithfulness and maturity and holiness and humility. And I'm excited for that day very, very soon where you get to be one of my pastors.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.